All right. Um, are we good to get started? Cool. All right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our webinar. We really, really appreciate you being here. I know more folks are going to be hopping on soon, but my name is Ethan Sullivan. I'm the Advocacy and Outreach Coordinator with Texas Gun Sense, and I'm joined here by Dana Rundlof, who's going to be our featured speaker today, Bobby Watson, our communications person, and then Nicole Golden, our awesome executive director. And so today's event is titled Secure Storage Education, How Schools Can Protect Kids at Home and in the Classroom. And so a little bit about the webinar. I'll talk about that and then I can introduce Dana. So today we're going to explore how schools in Texas can support student safety through promoting secure firearm storage. We're going to be covering the implementation of House Bill 3, which was passed in the 88th Texas legislative session, requiring schools to distribute secure firearm storage information. And then we'll also talk about HB 121 requiring 3 times a year with that secure storage information. And so Dana will talk today about how that's looking in public schools and what participants can do to help and how we can spread the word about this important cause. And after we finish that, we'll also talk about our new secure storage toolkit on this subject. That can be used for community members to advocate for change in their schools and something we want to get out to parents and families. So that will be the last part of our webinar. So, to get started here, I'll go ahead and introduce Dana real quick, and then I'll let her take it away with her presentation. So, Dana Rundlof, she serves on our board here at Texas Gun Sense, and she is the school safety lead for Texas for our coalition partner Moms Demand Action. She's a former attorney and graduate of the University of Michigan Law School. In her hometown it is Newtown, Connecticut, and she's been active in gun violence prevention and school safety work for the past 4 years. She has three school-age children here in Austin, Texas, and also serves on her children's school board safety committee. So thank you so much, Dana. I will let you turn it over to your presentation on this subject. For questions that may come up for Dana during this presentation, we'll ask that you put those in the comments section towards the end of the presentation if you can, just so to avoid any distraction or anything. And we'll get to those questions in order as they appear. So, without further ado, I'll let you take it away, Dana.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ethan, for that lovely introduction. Thanks to Texas Gun Sense for inviting me to speak and for everyone who is taking an hour of their day to listen to this important information. So as Ethan said, I'm going to be discussing the intersection of school safety and safe firearm storage. Specifically, I'm going to look at the implementation of a recent Texas law requiring the distribution of safe firearm storage by public school districts in Texas. Just to go over the agenda, we're going to look at why safe firearm storage is critical to school safety, what the current law requires of districts, and then looking at research done last year looking at how school districts are complying. So let's start with why safe firearm storage is critical to school safety. There are a lot of different people with different knowledge levels on this call, so we're going to start with some basics. So safe firearm storage is securely storing your weapon locked, unloaded, and separate from ammunition. Safe storage can prevent the unauthorized access of firearms by youth, and in so doing can prevent youth suicides, unintentional shootings by children, school-based gun violence, including targeted attacks. It can also prevent thefts of firearms from vehicles and homes, which can find their way into the hands of young people and others who should not have access to them. When speaking about school safety, we're having an expansive understanding of school safety. So we're not just talking about school security, we're also talking about the prevention of psychological and physical harm to children in that school community. So there are some key statistics to keep in mind when we're talking about this topic. Some of you may be familiar with them. First, firearms are the leading cause of death of children and teens in the US for the fourth year in a row. 54% of gun owners fail to safely store all of their firearms. This is from recent research by Johns Hopkins. About 4.6 million US children live in a home with at least one unlocked and loaded firearm, which is a staggering statistic when you think about it. When we're talking about suicide, the rate of death by suicide for teens and preteens has increased significantly over the last 15 years. One of the factors is the access to weapons, which are very lethal. And so when you look at all suicide attempts, across all suicide attempts, approximately 4% result in death. But when a firearm is involved, 90% of suicide attempts result in death. There's also some key data points from schools and targeted school violence that illustrate why safe storage is so critical to school safety. So we know that the majority of school shooters are current or former students. We also know that 76% of school shooters obtain their firearm from their home or the home of a close relative or friend. We also have data from the TEA, the Texas Education Agency, tracking the number of times students are disciplined for bringing firearms to schools in Texas. So in the 2023-2024 academic year, there were 353 incidents where students were disciplined for bringing a gun to school. In the 2024-2025 academic year, the number went down slightly. There were 276 incidents where students were disciplined for bringing a gun to school. These are just the incidents we know about, so it could be happening more than we know. Taking these statistics together, we can see that children have access to guns. They are bringing them to school in Texas at alarming rates. And the majority of the perpetrators of school-based gun violence are getting their guns are from their community, and they're getting their guns from their community. So preventing children from gaining access to firearms through safe storage practices can protect children, their community, and their schools from gun violence. That is why advocating for safe storage in your community is so critical. Now let's look at what the law requires school districts to do. So under current law, Texas public school districts and open enrollment charter schools are legally required to send out safe firearm storage information to parents and guardians at least 3 times each school year. You can see here that I've listed the why, the who, the what, and to whom of the current law. We're going to break down each of these elements of the law so that you all understand exactly what the law requires to help you better advocate within your own school or school district. So let's look at the text of the law. Ethan mentioned HB 3. So House Bill 3, this is Section 19 of House Bill 3, which passed and became effective September 1st, 2023. It became Section 37.222 of the Texas Education Code. I'm going to read a section of it here because I want to make sure that we all really focus on the text of the law. So it's entitled Resources on Safe Firearm Storage. And it states that the Texas School Safety Center, in collaboration with the Department of Public Safety, sorry, my screen is blocking part of it, so I actually can't see. Shall distribute to each school district and open enrollment charter school information and other resources regarding the safe storage of firearms for distribution by the district. This includes information, 2 types of information, which we'll discuss in depth in just a moment. The offense under Penal Code 46.13 and ways in which parents and guardians can effectively prevent children from accessing firearms. The second part of this law, Section B, states that each school district and open enrollment charter school shall provide the information mentioned to the parent or guardian of each student enrolled in the district of that school. Now, before we go into each of the elements of this law, I want to briefly mention HB 121. So House Bill 121 passed in the recent legislative session, and it actually amended and expanded this section of the education code. And instead of simply requiring that school districts send out safe firearm storage information, it clarified that school districts should send out safe firearm storage at least 3 times each school year. Okay, so now let's look at the law in more depth. Okay, so who has to send out safe firearm storage? The law mandates action at the district level. As of 2024, there were approximately 1,224 Texas public school districts and open enrollment charter schools. It's at that level where the law mandates action. There are about 9,000 public school campuses within those districts, and they serve approximately 5.5 million Texas early education to 12th grade public school students. So again, the law requires action at the district level, not at the local school level. The other thing to highlight here is that the law covers Texas public schools and open enrollment charter schools. It does not cover private schools. That being said, the same reasons that make it critical to send out safe firearm storage in the public school context make it just as critical in the private school context. If you have children in private schools in Texas, you should know that they're not required to send out safe firearm storage information. And you should also know that advocating for them to send that information out would be a great idea. Now let's look at what school districts, what type of information they have to send out. So as I mentioned, the law specifies 2 types of information that have to be sent out. One is information on the offense under Penal Code 46.13. This is Texas's child access prevention law. Texas does not require gun owners to securely store their weapons. However, Texas has this child access prevention law, which criminalizes making a firearm accessible to a child. There are a few things to note about this law. First, it comes into play after a child gains access. So it's not before, it's after a child gains access to a weapon that was not properly stored. That a child under this part of the law means a person younger than 17 years of age. And the penalties for violation of this law are only misdemeanors. So if a child gains access and a person failed to secure the firearm or left the firearm in a place to which the person knew or should have known the child would gain access, it's a Class C misdemeanor. Shockingly, if the child discharges the firearm and causes death or serious bodily injury to himself or another person, it's still a misdemeanor. In that case, it's a Class A misdemeanor. Though the penalties for this are low, it is important that districts are sending out this information because it reminds people that there are criminal penalties for failing to secure a firearm when a child gains access. The second type of information that must be sent out by districts is information created by the Department of Public Safety or the Texas School Safety Center on ways in which parents and guardians can effectively prevent children from accessing firearms. I'm going to start with the information created by the Department of Public Safety. So here's an example of safe firearm storage resources created by DPS. DPS created the Keep 'em Safe Texas campaign. It is in Spanish and English. They also have a Keep 'em Safe educator toolkit available for school districts. And they also have a safegunstorage.texas.com website, which houses all of this information. Many of you have probably seen this logo because many school districts are using these resources when they send out safe firearm storage information. I also wanted to show you the information created by the Texas School Safety Center. So the Texas School Safety Center created this resource here, Safe Firearm Storage Resources. Included in this is a parent letter template that school districts can use to send out this information to parents and guardians. The letter again is in Spanish and English, and I have a copy of the letter here on the right side of your slide. You can see that it references the Penal Code 46.13. It includes references to safegunstorage.texas.com and explains that it is the law now that districts need to notify parents and guardians and share information regarding safe firearm storage information. All right, we're going to come back to this letter, so just remember this parent template letter from the Texas School Safety Center. So, to whom does information need to be sent out by school districts and open enrollment charter schools? Very simply, the information has to go out to parents and guardians. So that means if your child is enrolled in a Texas public school or open enrollment charter school, you should have received safe storage information from your school district. That is the legal mandate and the elements of the law. As Ethan said, we're going to leave time for questions at the end. So I'm going to continue into looking at how school districts have been complying with this law. So last year, I became curious about whether school districts were complying with HB3 and how they were doing so. So I started researching what schools were doing. I tracked the distribution of safe storage information, which I refer to sometimes as SSI, since I keep repeating safe firearm storage information a lot. So I looked at districts across Texas. I conducted research that reviewed publicly available information, such as information on school district websites and social media posts, and also collected examples of more direct safe storage information messaging received by parents from districts, including emails, newsletters, and messages in parenting apps. The research, I analyzed the data regarding the type of information being sent out, the methods being used to send it out, the frequency of distribution, website placement, composition of the safe firearm storage, and other elements of the information being sent out. So I'm going to now share an overview of the research and then some of the specific findings. So the research, as I mentioned, includes data from school districts all over Texas. It includes data on 187 public school districts, and within that number are a few open enrollment charter schools. That reflects 15% of the public school district and charter schools in Texas. The data covers, though it reflects 15% of the school districts and charter schools, the data covers 3.3 million public school students in Texas, which is about 60% of the total Texas public school student population. So it's covering the majority of children, public school students in Texas. So the research is positive because of the 187 school districts reviewed, 133 or 71% have evidence of some safe storage information distribution through at least one means. Now, there's a caveat that I want to share here. The data is limited by publicly available information. So it's possible that compliance could be even higher than 71%. So, in terms of methods of distribution, how are school districts sending out this information? There's a lot of variation in how this is being done. So, you can see here, these are just some of the means being used. Placing safe storage information on websites is the most popular means, and we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. Some school district personnel are quoted in news articles, particularly after incidents where students were found with guns on campus. And in those cases, some school district personnel have used that opportunity to remind people about the importance of safe storage. There's also social media posts, papers being sent home in backpacks, though much less than other methods. There's emails, direct emails to parents, messages in parenting apps, parent newsletters, and I've also seen safe storage information included in registration documents as kids are registering for school. So the next few slides, I just want to share some examples of what we are seeing from school districts, so you know what to look for. The first two examples are examples of safe storage information which is being shared through school district websites. So the first example is from Alvin ISD. And as you can see here, if you can make it out, it might be a little small to see, but I'll walk you through it. Alvin ISD has this page focused on safe storage, and it is sharing safe storage information from a lot of different sources. So they have the Keep 'em Safe Texas resources where you can click through and get to Keep 'em Safe Texas. You can also see that at the bottom of their website, at the bottom of the screen for you. Uh, at the top, they're featuring Project Child Safe, which is another campaign focused on safe firearm storage. They reference the Texas Penal Code 46.13, which we discussed. Um, they do prominently provide the safe firearm storage resources in English and Spanish. And the other thing to highlight is that the text that you're seeing on their page is actually the text from the Texas School Safety Center parent template letter. Going on to the next example of a website, this is from Pearland ISD. Like Alvin ISD, they have resources from a lot of different safe storage campaigns or organizations. So they include the Keep 'em Safe information. They also have Project Child Safe. In addition, they have a reference to Healthy Children. That's from the American Academy of Pediatrics. All of these are links where people can follow those links and then find more detail. In addition, they have Be Smart, which is another safe storage campaign. Okay, moving on to some more examples of how school districts are sending out this information. Uh, the example on your left is an example of a school district, Wimberley ISD, which has again taken the Texas School Safety Center parent template and put their logo on top of it and then sent it out. This was actually sent out via email to parents of Wimberley ISD. The Texas School Safety Center and also the DPS Keep 'em Safe resources are very easy for school districts to use. And in the case of the Texas School Safety Center, all districts need to do is take the template, put on their logo, and then send it out. So school districts do not have to reinvent the wheel, which is a very nice thing for school districts to know because they're very busy doing a lot of things. Another example are papers in backpacks. So this example is taken from Houston ISD. You can see here that it's actually the Houston ISD PD, and there's a lot of variation whether it's the ISD or it's the ISD PD, the police department, sending it out. I saw many, many examples of both. So here you have the Houston ISD PD sending out a safe storage acknowledgement form. This is nice because it is requesting that parents sign and acknowledge that they have received this information about safe storage and then send it back to the schools. Now, my understanding of what's happening in Houston ISD is that this is not happening throughout the district, but I did find many examples of local schools actually sending out this type of acknowledgement form. I wanted to show you just a couple, two social media posts. The first is from Calhoun County ISD. This is a piece of safe firearm storage information that's aimed at hunters and a hunting community. You can see it reminds people that guns should be stored unloaded in a locked container with the ammunition stored elsewhere. It talks about protecting your guns this hunting season. Um, I like it because it's safe firearm storage that is being tailored to the community in which it's trying to reach. And that's extremely important. The next example is from Bastrop ISD. The Texas School Safety Center recommended that, and still recommends, that safe storage information not only be sent out multiple times a year, and now under HB 121, it should be sent out at least 3 times per year. But the Texas School Safety Center also recommends that the times that school districts send it out be before holidays and breaks. One of the reasons being that kids are at home and spending more time at home during holidays and breaks. So here, this example from Bastrop ISD is a good example of a school district sending out safe firearm storage information around holidays. So the post says, with guests in and out of your home this holiday season, make safe gun storage a priority. Put safe gun storage on your holiday to-do list and check it twice. So again, I like how they did this, and I saw this particular post being put out by multiple different districts throughout Texas. Okay, so I mentioned websites, and I'm going to talk a little bit about websites again in just a second. But of the safe storage information found through the research, the majority of safe firearm storage is being distributed through websites. Now, again, that could be skewed because the research focuses on publicly available data, and there could be a lot more examples of direct distribution that is simply not visible in the public domain. So, of the 187 school districts reviewed, 119 had safe firearm storage information on their websites. So that was 64% of all ISDs reviewed, and it was 89% of ISDs that were sending out safe firearm storage. There is a question as to whether posting safe firearm storage on a district's website constitutes or should constitute distribution. To the extent it does, it is certainly a passive, indirect form of distribution. And as we'll discuss a little bit later in the presentation, it raises questions about the effectiveness of such distribution. There's more data here that I could discuss, but in the interest of time, I'm going to move ahead. The only other thing that I would reference is that based on the research, only about a quarter are using multiple methods. And that's something to keep in mind because when we're talking about effectively getting out this messaging, not only frequency is important, but also multiple methods because people get their information from all different sources. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so in terms of a little bit more about the types of distribution, as I mentioned, there were far fewer examples located of more direct methods of distribution, such as emails and newsletters to parents. In the research, only about a quarter of school districts reviewed have evidence of direct distribution of safe firearm storage information. In about half of the school districts reviewed, the only safe storage information located was on their website. So I'm going to say that again. Based on the research, in about half of the school districts reviewed, the only safe storage information was on their websites. And then in a little bit more than a quarter of ISTs reviewed, there was no evidence of secure firearm storage. So, talking about methods of distribution and the frequency, again, this data is from an academic year when HB 121 had not gone into effect. So, the current law for this academic year requires that school districts send out safe firearm storage at least 3 times per year. So, at the time that this research was being done, you didn't have that legal requirement, but again, you did have the Texas School Safety Center recommendation that school districts provide this data, this information, multiple times. Based on the research, public school districts and charter schools, 80% of them were sending out information 1 time or less. So only about 20% were sending out safe storage information multiple times. Again, this is based on what the research shows. So this is not in line with the Texas School Safety Center's recommendations that school districts send out the information multiple times. And it's also below what is now required under HB 121, which requires the information to be sent out at least 3 times per school year. I mentioned I would get back to websites, and I wanted to share a few findings regarding websites. So in most cases, locating the safe storage information on a district website took multiple clicks and the placement varied. So although this information is supposed to be distributed to parents and guardians, it only appeared in parent, student, or community sections of websites about 20% of the time. Uh, you can see here I broke it down 55% of the time. The safe storage information appeared under safety, security, or police. And you could make an argument for why that's logical. But again, does that constitute distributing to parents and guardians? I could make an argument for why that is not sufficient and it's likely not reaching parents. 27% of the time, the safe storage information appeared as an archived news or post, which on the date it was posted, it may have been prominently featured for a day or so, but then it falls into the archives and is not visible without really digging through the website. 9% of the time, safe storage information fell under something called required postings, which is not readily viewable when you're looking at a website if you don't know to check required posting. So even when I knew exactly what I was looking for, it took quite a lot of digging and it took running multiple word searches on every single website. So running word searches like storage, safe, gun, firearm, and seeing if I could locate safe firearm storage that might have been posted on a school district's website. Given the variability of placement and how much searching was required for most websites to find the safe storage information, it seems unlikely that most parents would be able to locate this information if it's just on a school district website. And the research suggests that to be more effective, districts should not be sending out, or rather, should be sending out safe storage information through more direct means and not just relying on website placement as a method of distribution. Okay. The research also generated data on the composition of the safe firearm storage being sent out. I just want to highlight a few things. Um, of those districts sending out safe firearm storage information, the majority of them, excuse me, are using either the Texas School Safety Center parent template or the Keep 'em Safe docs or logo. So you can see here that um, of the ISD and charters reviewed that are sending out safe storage information, 66% are using the Texas School Safety Center parent template letter. 77% are using the Keep 'em Safe Texas resources. And 96%, and again, this is 96% of the ISDs reviewed that are sending out safe storage information of some kind, are sending out or sharing the link to safegunsstoragetexas.com. The other thing I wanted to highlight here, which was surprising, is that only 32% of the ISDs are sending out information in Spanish. That seems strange given that 40% or more of the population in Texas is Hispanic, and Texas has large areas of Spanish-speaking populations. So to ensure that all parents and guardians are reached, districts should be sending out the information in both Spanish and English. And again, the Texas School Safety Center resources and the DPS resources all are in Spanish and English. So it's something very easy for school districts to do. So, are parents seeing the secure firearm storage information that is being sent out to districts? The short answer is that we don't know. Um, and additional research on that topic, on that topic, would be very helpful. The answer to that question is beyond the scope of the research conducted last year. Uh, so, in summary, the implementation research is positive because it shows a compliance rate of at least 71% through some means, one means or another. However, as I discussed, it does raise questions about the effectiveness of the distribution uh, that we are seeing coming from school districts. We need to advocate for this information to be distributed as required by law, at least 3 times per year, and in a manner that is effective in reaching parents. So at this point, before we get to what you can do to help with implementation of this law and the TGS toolkit, we wanted to give some time for questions. And I believe, Ethan, people can put questions into the chat if they have any questions. Is that right?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Dana. That was great presentation, so informative. And yes, if people have questions, they can put them in the chat. Now's the time to do so, and we will address those from first to last in order. So we can take a few minutes to do that, and then we'll move on to the other parts of the of our hour here on the webinar. Um, okay. Um, Okay, I do see one here from Lewis, and it is wants to know how are gun locks distributed um, as part of this.
So, Lewis, thank you for that question. The law does not require distribution of gun locks from school districts. It only requires the distribution of safe firearm storage information. However, what the research does show is many examples where school districts, in addition to providing safe firearm storage information, are also including resources on how people can obtain gun locks. So, for example, the Child Safe resources I referenced, that's an organization that provides gun locks. Um, Another organization, Lock Arms for Life, which provides gun locks, is also referenced in some school district websites.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Dana. And it looks like there is a quick follow-up here from Lewis as well, and wanting to know if there's any reference to law enforcement agencies as providers of free gun locks.
Uh, Lewis, I don't know that off the top of my head. That would vary school district by school district. If you are interested in that, I would suggest that you reach out to your school district. Um, you should check your school district website and see what they're saying about safe firearm storage and if they are offering those resources. If they are offering resources like how parents and guardians can obtain gun locks in their community, that's fantastic. But it would really be on a district by district and in some case, local school by local school level.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We'll take another minute here. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to put those in. If not, we can move on to the other parts. Um, okay, I do see a couple here that have come in. Let's see. This one's from Gretchen, saying that she tried asking the principal about, or her principal about sending information home in backpacks, but was told we could only send something out through the PTA. Do you have any sense of how many principals were sending out information on their own versus just relying on district communications?
Thank you, Gretchen, for that question. And thank you also for trying to advocate at your school level. That's awesome.
Mhm. Yeah.
So the short answer is the research is focused on the district level because compliance, the legal requirement is for compliance at the district level. So I cannot give you any kind of overview of what's happening at the local school level. The only thing I could say is that, we know that many parents are busy. We know it's hard for them to get information, and that it's logical that more parents might more easily see the information if it is being sent out at the local level as well. And so, one suggestion might be to go back to them and to look at what is being sent out at the district level. And I have a lot of data on that, Gretchen, if you wanted it for your particular district. But knowing what your district is doing, to go to your local school level and say, hey, this is great information being sent out at the district level. I really would like to amplify that. Can you send this out? And in terms of the format, there's nothing in the law that requires how a district should send out that information. So there's nothing stopping school districts or local schools from sending out information in paper form or electronic form. I hope that answered your question, Gretchen.
Great. Thank you so much, Dana. We'll do one final question here, and then we'll move on to the other parts of our presentation or our webinar today. And this one is from Vanita, wanting to know if there's been any engagement with Texas School Safety Center and or DPS about partnering and incorporating Be Smart's message.
That is a great question. Um, Nicole might have more knowledge about that. What I can say on the Be Smart front is that Be Smart volunteers are active throughout Texas, and many of them are working within school districts to try to get out that messaging. On one of the slides, when I was looking at composition of the safe storage information being sent out, I believe there's 7 school districts in Texas that have the Be Smart information prominently displayed on their websites. Um, in terms of coordinating with DPS and Texas School Safety Center to include Be Smart, I'm not aware of such coordination. And I guess what I would say is that they're separate programs, they're complementary, and their goal is the same, which is to increase the safe storage of firearms, but they are distinct, different programs.
Dana, you answered exactly really what I would say. They're
Okay.
complementary. And I think both working together just amplifies the message and that, it's such a great win that we were able to get this into law and we continue to work with great agencies like the Texas School Safety Center and working on building up contacts at DPS so that we can continue to be a good resource to them.
Terrific. Ethan, any other questions?
Um, It looks like that is it for what we have right now, but if anything comes up, please feel free to follow up with us and we can get those questions over to Dana and we'd be happy to get back to you with more information. And of course, you can follow our website and our social media channels for more information on this topic. So, but thank you so much, Dana. Really, really appreciate that. That was great. So we're going to move on now to going over our secure storage toolkit, which builds off of this presentation that we just had. And I will go ahead and share my screen. Okay, great. There we go. Awesome. So this is going to be our toolkit. It also has the same title as the webinar, Secure Storage Education, How Schools Can Help Protect Kids at Home and in the Classroom. So we're going to be sharing this today with you all during the webinar, and then we'll follow up with the recording and the link to this presentation, and it'll also go on our website as well. So you can refer back to this and use it as a resource for advocacy. Um, yeah, so secure firearm storage saves lives. We know that responsible gun ownership is not just a matter of individual safety. It's critical to public safety, right? So we have to ensure that firearms are stored securely to reduce theft, prevent tragedies like unintentional shootings, mass shootings, and suicides, which is the most common type in Texas and nationwide, basically. And this is really a time, unfortunately, when school shootings are a daily reality, right? It's been the reality for a long time, and it's critical that we take secure storage seriously. And as Nicole mentioned just a minute ago, getting this legislation implemented here in Texas was a huge win. This is not something that you just see everywhere, and the fact that we were able to do this in a state like Texas that has a deep history and culture when it comes to gun ownership for a variety of purposes, it's a big win, and we've really found it to be something that a lot of people really agree on, and people want to see secure storage, people want safer schools and safer communities. So we definitely cannot emphasize that enough. Um, and so to just kind of put some data with it about, why this law came to be and why we need to make sure that we're following through on implementation of it, 76% of school shooters receive their firearms from home or the home of a close relative. So accounting for the vast majority of these incidents. And so that makes it all the more critical for why we have to have this secure storage information distributed. And in 2023, firearm suicides claimed the lives of over 4,600 Texans, including 276 children and teens, which is far, far too many. And so a really staggering statistic. Um, and as I mentioned earlier, firearms are used in 62% of suicides in Texas, which does account for the majority of gun deaths. And so it's extremely important for that issue, of course. And so, um, and then the big one, the one that I think should jump out to everybody, no matter where you fall on this issue, is that guns are the leading cause of death for children and teens in Texas and in the US, right? More than car accidents, more than cancer, more than any of those types of things. And so that's why this information, doing this work is so important and why we need to celebrate this win of getting the secure firearm storage information in schools because it saves lives. And I know it says 2023 on here. We're going off what we have as the most recent data from the CDC and John Hopkins. Those are our references when it comes to this information. And as more evidence comes out for this issue, that'll get updated. But it's not enough to where this information is unreliable, right? It's still very, very much in line. So that's just a little bit about the data um, to this issue. Uh, and so, anyway, so what is the law? Um, what we were talking about earlier, thanks to the work of Texas Gun Sense and our partners, Texas law requires school districts to share information about secure firearm storage 3 times a year per year, right? And we went over this earlier, but House Bill 3, this was passed in 2023 during the 88th Texas legislative session, which requires school districts to share information about secure firearm storage with parents and legal guardians, but didn't necessarily define how much and how, right? And then in 2025, there was another one, House Bill 121, that passed, which expanded HB 3, which now requires school districts to distribute that secure firearm storage 3 times per year. So it got much more specific. And now we're, building off the 2025 legislation to make sure that we have follow through with that 3 times per year. Um, and so that's really what the law is and what we're doing. And then the next thing here, action needed. So, as we mentioned in that last presentation and everything, there's really no enforcement mechanisms or guidance for school districts on how to fulfill these requirements, which results in a lot of inconsistency. And so that's why we're having this webinar today. That's why we have this toolkit, is to hopefully fill in some of those gaps, right? And so, you can help make Texas schools and homes safer by working with your school districts to make sure that parents and legal guardians are receiving secure firearm storage in that clear and timely manner. And this is, a great quote that we have from Abby Clements. She's the co-founder of Teachers Unify to End Gun Violence and a Sandy Hook school teacher survivor. And she wanted to applaud the Texas legislature for requiring public schools to distribute secure firearm storage information to families 3 times a year. But a 10 alone is not enough. Without dedicated implementation and evaluation, the policy cannot reach its full potential to help prevent tragedy. So That's so well said from Abby, and it's why we need to make sure that this follow through is happening. And so, how you can help. Um, so, what you can first do is find out how your school district has been sharing secure firearm storage. Whether they're doing it the 3 times a year, like school districts should be, or whether it's only happening a little bit or not at all. It's important that you first know how your school district is doing that, right? So learning that is the first step in learning how you can help. And then the second point is to start a conversation with your school district on how to distribute that information in a far-reaching and clear manner. And this will be we have it linked here in our toolkit. Once that's up on the website, you'll be able to see it. And like I said, we'll be following up with this webinar and the link to the presentation. But we have an email template here where you can see uh, a letter. It's for advocacy purposes for parents and guardians of kids. It's an email template that they can send to their principals or superintendents, calling for this law to be fully implemented and followed through, right? And we have it in English, Spanish, and then there's a version for private schools as well. Because I know the law specifies public and charter schools, but it's definitely something that private schools should be doing as well, right? Because I mean, nobody is immune from gun violence, as we know, right? So that's a big thing that families can do. And then the last part here is just follow examples set by other school districts. And so, as Dana mentioned, right, there are a variety of ways that school districts can communicate with parents and legal guardians, and it's important to understand the makeup of the area, right? This should look different in a rural area as opposed to an urban area, right? That information will be received differently all throughout this state, right? I mean, Texas is a place that's bigger than a lot of countries at the end of the day. So there's, not just one culture here. There's so many different types of people, and so it's important that we understand that. And so, yeah, so take home information packets, social media posts, district emailing. Those are really, really good ways that school districts can share that information. Um, and yes, that pro tip there, language accessibility is critical. Keep 'em Safe Texas has this information in English and Spanish, but there can definitely be other relevant languages too, right? But knowing that those are the two predominant ones in Texas, that's why we have that, and that's why Keep 'em Safe Texas has that language accessibility. So kind of to wrap it up here, you can join us in helping make schools and our community safer by promoting responsible gun ownership. As parents and community members, your voice is critical in preventing these tragedies from happening, right? And so together we can work to protect children and ensure a safer future, and to, like I said, to stay up to date on this information and to learn more, you can follow our social media channels here, our Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We're active on all of those, and of course our website, which we always keep up to date too, and you're welcome to visit. Um, yeah. So anyway, thank you guys so much for that. If there are any questions here in the chat, I can take those. But if not, we can move on to the last little bit. Let me see here. Give it a sec.
And while Ethan's putting that up, just a friendly reminder to everybody that we will be sending out the toolkit and the recording of
Yes.
this to all the registrants, including everyone who could not be here. So, and the slideshow from Dana. So you'll have information. Please feel free to share it around to get that information out.
Mhm. Yeah, and I see your comment in here, Christina, and yeah, thank you. That's so true. It's important here as we come to the end of the school year. Yes, we do need to honor our students that we lost in Santa Fe, Uvalde, all of these districts, right, or all these schools, and um, I think it's important. Yeah, it's important not to forget that, right? And That's why, make the least we can do is make sure that our firearms are stored securely and properly to prevent these tragedies from occurring again in the future. So, um, we've had far too many of these incidents, and yeah, we're working to make sure it doesn't happen again. So, any anything else?
Ethan, I
That
just
might
wanted to
be.
jump in and just
Mhm.
say I'm just really excited that TGS created this toolkit, and I really think it'll help parents, empower parents to advocate within their community. And again, I just want to emphasize that even though the law only requires districts to send this information out, when you get the template, or sorry, when you get the toolkit and you see the parent letters that are in there, it's going to be really easy for parents and guardians to use that and send it to either district, email it to a district personnel, or to email it to your own principal, just asking them to, again, amplify this message about safe firearm storage. So I'm really appreciative of TGS for doing this, for creating that toolkit and making it easier for parents and guardians to advocate for this. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Dana. So true. And the last thing here, this will kind of serve as a next step for what you can do if you want to do more on this issue. I'll share my screen here real quick with the if y'all can see that, this is from our friends over at Brady and Team Enough. They sent me this resource here. Something they do every year is they have an Ask Day, and this year it's going to be on June 21st. And it's kind of it's a national movement where they ask. Asking saves kids, right? And it's reminding parents and caretakers to ask, is there an unlocked gun where my child plays? And as we kind of get into the beginning of the summer when kids are going to be out of school and are going to, have more time for play dates and hanging out, it's definitely important that we're on the same page with this, right? And Ask Day is a time to just kind of break down that barrier to where we can comfortably have these conversations, right? That's something that we got to get used to, and because it's for safety's sake, right, for everybody. And so this will be something that yeah we're going to be partnering with on June 21st, and just a little bit about the why ASCII matters. Yes, 4.6 million kids live in a home with a loaded and unlocked gun, and 1 in 5 parents who said their child never handled guns without supervision were contradicted by their child's reports, right? And 8 kids a day, far too many are being unintentionally injured or killed by guns. And so it's all the more important that we do this. And these are kind of some ways to help here. You can share about this on social media. You can host or attend an event in your community, um, or you can write a letter to the editor. And of course, as we just talked about, engage your school district on this. So there's a lot of ways you can help. This is going to be the next big thing at the beginning of summer on the first day. So definitely put this down on your calendar, and we'll follow up with this link to where you can kind of explore more about the topic. Um, so just
Thank
wanted
you,
to take a
Ethan, for
second.
that. And thanks to Brady. I just want to say thanks to such
Yeah,
great partners at Brady. And thank you to everyone who came. As ED of Texas Gun Sense, we couldn't do this without you. And I really, really appreciate everybody being so passionate about secure gun storage and spreading the word. We need you. Thank you. And thanks, Dana, for a wonderful presentation.
Of course.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much, Dana. That was wonderful, and thank you to everyone who attended. We really appreciate you being here. We look forward to staying in touch, and we will get you those materials afterwards. So, um, all
Thank
right,
you.
all right. Thank you all. Yep. Have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.